When Horror Uses Childbirth by Mike Casey Valentine. We're gonna look at this. I have no idea what awaits me here. The only thing, like, I remember that creeped me out always was from Alien 4, the human xenomorph. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. We'll go in. That's the
In the
one that
embryonic and fetal
that's the one that usually creeped me out. As far as it goes to childbirth, but not really.
stages of development, a baby can look quite strange. Looking at its large head and tiny limbs, being rattled up is probably the most natural reaction you could have. Nonetheless, that little creature was all of us at some point. It's when you separate the baby from its mother's body that things take a disturbing turn. You begin to ask questions like, what the hell am I looking at? Are they able to survive? And how is the mother doing? But certain
No. Good or horrible, depends.
pieces of media twist things even more, either by making that baby fall victim to a cruel fate, or be the bringer of one. Children play a huge role when they're presented in horror media. They can be victims to prove that evil has no bounds, and that anyone can be subjected to the horrors. Either they won't get to experience
I mean, that's a usual thing, right? Children are usually portrayed as like innocent and like it's usually portrayed as like something to protect, right? Which is why you can use it so well. That's most of the reason why that is even happening. That's why children are usually put in like, right? The Thing is a good example, right? Of like children always being like like in danger and stuff. It makes sense.
adulthood, or trauma follows them everywhere, but children can also take the other side. Whether they're possessed, mutated, just psychotic, or not even human at all, kids being the culprits twist our reality.
Exactly. Kids can also be evil. I remember I watched a movie, right? Why is the Metro 2 Tours Bach music being used for this video? I have a good question. A good question. I do not know. So, right, I remember a movie where a kid was essentially the devil. Little bro even had horns, right? And he basically ate human meat. They kept it in the fridge, right? And like the babysitter. And as far as I understood, they always used the babysitter to nourish the child. But it was supposed to be the devil. And that child was evil.
The illusion of children being innocent gets completely shattered. It makes whoever's tormented vulnerable because who's going to hurt a child, and is it really the child's fault? Whichever of these roles is being portrayed, a reaction is elicited from the audience. As writer Cesar A. Cruz puts it, art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. By putting a child who's not even born or stillborn in either role, the resulting feelings are enhanced even more.
What am I looking at? That's a good question. What am I looking at? Hold up. What the fuck is that? What the shit is this? What am I looking at? What is this? Why is his head so weird? Why does he look like a rubber chicken? Like the ones you get for dogs as like toys? Does he squeak as well?
Child who's not even born or stillborn in either role, the resulting feelings are enhanced even more. What kickstarted the whole idea behind this video would be the creepypasta flash game, Covetous. I brought it up in my video about flash games that scared me as a kid because Covetous did just that. I recommend
I wouldn't know. I've never played flash games when I was a kid. No access to internet. Saved me probably a lot of trauma.
you watch it if you grew up with flash games. Anyways, the game's premise revolves around you playing as an absorbed twin, trying to break out of their brother's body. They start as a small
Did I? Hold up.
The game's premise revolves around you playing as an absorbed twin, trying to break out of their brother's body.
Who made that freaky flash game? The fuck you mean break out of your brother's body? And you being an embryo. What on earth is that? Where are you even supposed to come out? Of his ass? What the fuck is this?
Start as a small embryo, but as it starts taking in more of the brother's nutrients, the twin grows until it becomes an adult. Once they are an adult, they break out of their brother's body, while the brother cracks open like an egg. I know there's an alternate ending, but let's ignore it for now. As I mentioned in the video, the game
What the fuck is those freaky game? Regardless, okay? Regardless. Okay. Isn't Gygas from Earthbound also a fetus? Anyways, But did you know that squeak toys, when you dog chews them, give them a primitive reminder of them killing their prey? So, in other words, if a dog bites you, don't scream. Got it.
Doesn't really scare me as it's just really simple pixel art. I'm all for leaving things to the viewer's imagination, but how am I supposed to be scared by Atari ET? Also, the dialogue is just really cringy, although you have to admit, the concept itself is terrifying. Even though something like this could never happen in real life, twins being absorbed is a common occurrence. Just imagine, your punishment for something that's not even your fault is to be slowly eaten alive. I should mention that there is a remake of the game, and its horror is a lot more effective. In this version, it's zoomed in, meaning we get a better look at the twin in the brother's body. The twin is just gross to look at, and at the same time, seeing the brother's organs makes you feel the same pain he's feeling. After I finished writing the covetous section of the Flash Games video, I began thinking about other pieces of media that involve imagery of unborn children. The moment I counted more than 3, that's when I began to realize it's much more prominent than I thought. Now I can't go on about fetus imagery without mentioning David Lynch's Eraserhead, right? This is a movie about a man named Henry Spencer who has to take care of a gross-looking
What the fuck is that? What is that? It looks like the grandma from SpongeBob. You know, like the one who's like in the chocolate episode of the wheelchair? What the fuck is that? That's E.T. That's not E.T. It looks like the grandma from SpongeBob. Wait, that's Eraserhead? That's the movie you watched? You freaks. I blame Krog. You freaks. That's what you watched? What is that? What are you freaks watching?
baby you didn't plan to have. Man, I'm going to say those 3 words a lot, aren't I? The baby isn't just horrifying in appearance, but its horrors also lie in the fact that it needs to be taken care of constantly, and is always making that god-awful squeal. It is when the movie reaches its ending that things get even weirder. Henry cuts open the baby's bandages and, oh, the bandages were actually holding up the baby's organs. Great, now Henry's stabbing.
What the fuck were you watching? What is wrong with you people? What the oh god.
The baby's organs and causing this unknown liquid to come out. Funnily enough, David Lynch is super secretive about what the baby really is. Is it a puppet, or is it an actual animal fetus? It's something fans have speculated for years. And I mean, why wouldn't they? Just look at the damn thing. When it comes to other media with a gross looking baby, I wouldn't be surprised if Eraserhead was the main inspiration. Resident Evil 8 or Village, for the most part, is an RE title I don't consider to be as scary as some of the others, only beating out the action titles. However, RE8 still houses one of the scariest moments in the history of the series. Our main character, Ethan Winters, is on a quest to save his daughter, in which he has to explore through the various areas to collect her separated body parts.
It's just this pee in the glass anyways. It's art, he said. Art? You freaks!
One of these areas is House Benevanto. When Ethan gets farther into the basement, which is already eerie enough with all the darkness and mannequins, you start to hear some crying. After some exploration and a few hallucinations, you encounter the giant
Oh yeah, the worm thing.
monstrosity that's doing all the crying. I'm telling you, when I got to this part of the game, I closed off and didn't play until the next day. Nothing in any horror game has made me do that before. The baby has this revolting fleshy appearance, and not to mention, it's massive. Literally, one of the animations for when you get caught by this thing has Ethan being swallowed whole from its gaping mouth. Keep in mind, you don't have access to your weapons at this point. All you can really do is run and hide from this monstrosity. I'm not going to lie, the actual chase sequence isn't all that difficult as everything's scripted. But holy, reaching the elevator back while the baby's blocked by the door is such a relieving experience. A little before this whole baby sequence,
That ain't the baby, bro. That's not a baby. That's not a baby. That ain't the baby. Shoot it in its face. That's not a baby.
plans caused Ethan to hallucinate, so throughout this part of the game, Ethan's worst fears start to manifest, and that includes the baby. Like, just imagine being Ethan. You're already on a search to find your kidnapped baby that got separated into parts, and you're afraid of what she'll turn into, and then this appears to take those emotions and fuck with you even more. If I'm going to talk about one first-person horror game, might as well talk about the first-person horror game. Pretty much, a lot of the game involves the player going through this dark photorealistic house. Seems creepy enough, right? Well, guess what? Crying sink fetus. It has no facial features except for a mouth.
Crying sink fetus is crazy work.
which it uses to either
That is
wail or talk.
insanity.
That's right, this thing can talk.
That is
Let's take a
crazy.
look at the main antagonist, Lisa. She has some blood in her stomach area. The demo also has us hear some radio broadcasts detailing incidents of husbands killing their wives, one with a gun to the stomach, and another through stabbing. And oh, holy shit. A fetus plays a decent role in Silent Hill 3, which sounds about right considering the whole game is about the main character, Heather, fighting the fact that she's forced to give birth to God. In fact, God is the fetus I'm about to talk about. After this climactic scene where Heather just writhes in pain as she's about to give birth to God, she then takes a capsule from her pendant, which causes her to throw up. Once
What the fuck? What do you mean? Stop! Do not give birth to God!
again, we have another disgusting looking baby, but the way I feel about it isn't the same as how I felt about the previous ones. Sure, it looks abhorrent, but it's not really freaking me out. The thing that's been the root of both Silent Hills 1 and 3, the thing the cult has been chasing, the thing that caused Heather all this turmoil, is just a feeble little creature. There's a level of irony to it, and that's only supported by the fact that Heather tries to kill it before she's stopped by the main antagonist, Claudia Wolf. I want to talk about this scene even more. Even after the pain it caused her, Heather, being a sassy 17-year-old, has her first instinct to say a one-liner and stomp on the thing. I don't know, it's just really funny to
Looks like God didn't make it. It's like stump.
me. What's not funny is when Claudia, who's so devoted to her faith, decides to swallow the fetus so that she can birth God herself. But hey, at least it leads to the boss fight and the end of the game. So Noroi the Curse is one of those horror movies that you watch at 2 AM just by yourself. The best synopsis I could give is that this is a found footage film set in Japan that involves a journalist realizing that a bunch of investigations lead to a sealed demon named Kagutaba. Before I watched this movie during lockdown, I expected it to be jam-packed with jump scares, but nope. Everything is just pure dread. That couldn't be any less true for this particular scene. So after a really unsettling ritual, a character accompanying Kobayashi
That's interesting way that woman, isn't she the one that says, what can you do? Kill my child. I have the tool to make more. I mean, kinda.
named Hori spawns another character named Kana. Kana was a psychic who was not only central to one of the previous investigations, but was also linked to the demon. Keep in mind, Kana is dead. Kobayashi and Hori run after her. They search the woods, coming across an ancient shrine all surrounded by dead dogs and pigeons. Kobayashi decides to change his camera to night mode, which leads to this big reveal. Oh, that's Kana alright, and she's covered in fetuses. There's so much whiplash
What the fuck? Where did all those babies come from? Who made all those things?
in the scene, as it followed an already uneasy buildup. Actually, these fetuses were mentioned earlier in the film. We know that from a previous investigation, a bunch of fetuses were not only aborted, but also eaten to fulfill a ritual. To add on to that,
Brother, good God. Which was it? Assassin's Creed. I think it was Assassin's Creed 2. That is not fun.
in Kana's investigation, there were mentions of worms. Earthbound is a game that follows a group of kids going through silly shenanigans.
Yes, finally, Earthbound mentioned. I mentioned it at the beginning. Yeah, apparently Gygas is he looks like a fetus, and we are boarding the boy.
And fighting all kinds of goofy enemies. Guess who the main villain is? A cosmic being who's the embodiment of evil. If you saw his battle screen as a kid, you might have ended up traumatized. But take a closer look. Don't the many Gygases resemble a fetus? Well, that's what many people have thought, leading to this huge theory that Gygas is actually an allusion to abortion, or that killing him is actually aborting a giant baby. The second one isn't true because we saw him in Mother 1. His design has been pointed out to be a distorted version of his original design. Plus, it's been confirmed in an interview with the director, Shigesato Atoi, that Gygas' design in the game is based on a traumatic experience where he saw a graphic scene in a movie. So all in all, it's more likely that the whole baby pattern was a coincidence. But I think the fetus imagery, whether intentional or not, helps with the whole theme of loss of innocence and being an entity that's hard to grasp. Even if that cosmic entity final boss isn't based on a fetus, this other cosmic entity final boss for sure is. The Nihilith from Half-Life resembles a
Nihilith from Half-Life. Yeah, he kind of looks like a fetus. He kind of looks like a baby. A weird, misshapen baby who got a little more arms clipped on his back and ran away from the Covenant.
fetus, but there are some glaring differences. He's not just based on any fetus, he's based on Gabe Newell's son, Gray. In an interview with
Yeah, I consider that an insult. I consider that an insult. Ah, yes. This boss in my game, it looks like you. Oh yeah, that I take that in. Honestly, I kind of see it. I kind of see it, bro. That's diabolical. Bro, I'd never forgive my dad for this one.
News Network, he pointed out that at the time of his birth, having a child was the scariest thing to everyone. Similarly to the fetuses I talked about for Silent Hill 3 and Earthbound, there's this cruel sense of irony that the weakest stage of any organism is in the place of the most powerful being out there. In the sense of the Nihilanth, he's a creature with abilities like reality warping and mind control. He's essentially the boss of the society of Zen aliens you fight throughout the game. The Vortigons in Half-Life 2 thank Gordon for killing them, as the Nihilanth was what enslaved them. I think his overall design really strengthened how intimidating he is. Even with his fetal appearance, he still has that scalp open up and that third arm. He's in this weird line between looking human and not looking human, so there's a lot of uncanniness and fear in the familiar with that. That, added with his size and abilities, makes him really hard to comprehend. It's interesting how Half-Life reused the idea of a feeble creature in a powerful position with the advisors in Half-Life 2, which resemble maggots. Bloodborne takes everything we talked about in this video and kicks it up a notch. This game is filled to the brim with all kinds of imagery for babies. The red jelly is so obviously a fetus. When you
Ugh, that's horrible.
defeat the most annoying boss in the game, you see a woman with blood on her stomach while hearing crying. To fight the true final boss, you have to eat 3 umbilical cords. One of those you get by killing a mother and her deformed.
Wait, you just literally murk a mom and it's her deformed child?
Slug baby. Before you kill the two, the mother has some dialogue about how disgusted she is with the thing. More of those slug babies can be seen in other areas of the game. The easiest boss in the game slightly resembles a fetus. The hardest boss in the game is a newborn that uses his placenta as a weapon. All these baby depictions disturb you in different ways, and are a huge part of Bloodborne's mix of Lovecraftian and Gothic horror. The Lovecraft part comes in with the body horror and their connection to the higher beings that make us feel like ants in comparison to them. As for the Gothic horror, the babies here represent an even bigger picture. They show how women are treated in this society, and how children can either be seen as achievements or as a source of agony. If I were to go into more detail on this, it would take way too much time, so allow me to redirect you to these 2 video essays that explore.
Well, yeah, I think I've watched at least one of these. Anyways, so people want this game to be remade. Well, it is a great, fantastic game, but wasn't the Demon Souls remake absolute as?
The themes of femininity in Bloodborne. When part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Stardust Crusaders was released, we got introduced to stands. These stands, supported by the manga's Monster of the Week storytelling, paved the way for all kinds of abilities to be shown off. In the latter half of Stardust Crusaders, one of these stands we see is Set, wielded by its user Alessi. Set is a shadow with the ability to reverse people's ages. The character Polnareff was hit by the stand and reverted to a more toddler state, but he wasn't even the biggest victim. That title belongs to the woman who Polnareff befriended and was cared for by. When child Polnareff is met with Alessi again, he sees the woman's clothes on the floor. Wouldn't you know it, that woman has turned into a fetus. Polnareff.
Holy fuck, bro! Ain't no way. That's freaky. What the heck? Abracadabra. Fetus. Whatever.
Reacts in shock, while Alessi just taunts him. This then leads to one of the most stressful moments ever, because there are 2 ways the woman could die. Either Alessi puts his hands on her himself, or she just dies a slow and painful death. The only way they could save the girl is to beat Alessi, but it's not like Polnareff can do much either, because he's not only a lot weaker, but none of the other Crusaders are there. Well, until Jotaro shows up and saves the day with his anime protagonist shtick. I'm going to do a bullet round and mention other instances of fetus.
That's still crazy though. Bro really pulled up and said skedaddle skedoodle. Your child is now a fetus. Your woman is now a fetus. That's crazy.
This is being portrayed in media. The reason I'm going to be brief with these is because they're worth mentioning. I just don't have a lot to say. To start us off, there's the demonic offspring of Guts and Casca that became deformed due to the actions Griffith did to Casca. Flow is a fan game of the indie classic Yume Nikki that revolves around childbirth, and fetuses are very prominent. 2 different Doom mods, named Doom Fetito and Root Pain, both involve a giant fetus boss. While the former exists as a protest, and the latter exists for shock value, they both serve as an allusion to abortion. The babies I talked about today exist to not only disturb the audience, but to also bring out the artists' and writers' intentions even more. We've seen these horrific looking babies embody the struggle of parenting.
Not that thing again. Horrible. Absolutely grotesque.
Forced childbirth, and even the guilt of losing a child. We saw fetuses exist as reminders for horrific crimes committed or as brutal punishments. Hell, we've even seen fetuses in the form of cosmic entities to break our perception of reality. Seeing this type of baby imagery was something that always intrigued me, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Feel free to like, comment down any thoughts, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Also check out my other channel, just titled Casey Valentine, if you want to see some videos that are personal to me. Take care of yourselves, and of course, as usual, please have yourselves a damn good one.
Anyways, that's the end of the video. So what did we learn? People love to use fetuses as a way to explore horror. That's all we need. Who gave this video? You know who it was. You know damn well who it was. Anyways, very interesting. I did not expect that. It was actually really interesting. I did not need to know the Eraserhead thing though. That was a bit freaky. But yeah, very fun. Very fun. Great. Awesome.